person anymore. And I've spent a long time growing up. The time I did, I was an r/atheism enjoyer. I have a very negative opinion of a lot of religions.
If I'm doing that Richard Dawkins thing, there was like, oh yes, so lovely to hear the church bells in the morning, so much better than Allahu Akbar, don't you say? It's like, well no, it just sounds like you hate Muslims, dog. All this shit just sounds like you got your own racism to unpack, but you're doing it under a veil of like, I'm actually very critical of religion. One of the biggest streamers on the internet, a World of Warcraft monstrous empire, and man who lives in complete filth and squalor. He has had blood on his walls, cockroaches, and rats found within his own apartment because he lives in absolute and complete filth, which again, for a millionaire who influences a lot of young male audience members, it's kind of a little bit troubling. But hey, for a lot of these massive ass gamers who have massive platforms, for the most part, they usually stick in the realm of video games, talking about video games, talking about World of Warcraft, talking about how games are blah, blah, blah. Now, a lot of them still, even if they say they're apolitical or don't like talking or engaging in politics, they don't realize that they are talking about issues like perhaps civil rights, if they go after trans people, if they go after black people for appearing as a main character in a video game, saying this is forced diversity, this is wokeness, this is blah, blah, blah. They don't realize that what they're talking about is actually, you know, talking about other people's, one person's culture wars, another person's civil rights, but that stuff is usually still tolerated and acceptable. But Asmongold likes to dip into geopolitics from time to time, despite him making tweets to the exact opposite of what he does. He's actually put out tweets before. It's like, people should really learn a lot more about like big world issues before talking about it. Either shut the fuck up or learn about it. And he decided not to take his own advice. He got a very viral clip a couple days ago where he was being questioned by his audience. What do you think about the genocide currently being enacted upon Palestinians living in the Gaza Strip? And he very clearly said that he feels that they are from an inferior culture. He used the term inferior twice, that he implies have genocide built into their own mandates. So fuck them, whatever comes their way, you know. And then when asked, well, is it really fair that so many of them are being slaughtered? He then said that, well, given the chance, they would slaughter so many more Israelis. So yeah, I don't care. They're an inferior people. It's an inferior culture. Disgusting ass racist shit. And, was effectively called out by a lot of people on the internet, and then eventually had a debate with Hassan. That debate didn't really seem to convince Asmongold that much of what he was saying was extremely racist and dehumanizing. And then Asmongold got a 2-week ban off of Twitch, which is basically kind of like, hey, you get to go earn as much money as you would otherwise just on YouTube instead.
What my plans are going forward. I'm going to try and structure this video into 2 parts, where the first part is going to be me talking about the Twitch suspension. Second part is going to be talking about myself. And the first thing I want to start off with is something that I know it might sound a little bit insincere because of how ridiculous this is, but I really mean it, and if you listen to the whole video, I hope you can see why. Everybody who's come and spoken out and talked to me and said stuff about me, aside from the, oh, you should kill yourself or something like that, I want to say that I really appreciate you. And I think this is...
So first off, right out of the gates, if you're making any kind of an apology or you're trying to, talk about the infraction that you've done, don't begin by trying to curate empathy or sympathy for yourself. Just leave that out of it. This is not about, hey, by the way, you have no idea how rough things have been for me. You have no idea how hard I've had a time. Again, multi-millionaire, probably making 40,000 plus a month kind of thing. But it's been really tough. It's been really tough having people call me all kinds of names and saying mean things about. Just you can leave that out of this. This is not the time to talk about how hard you've been having as a result of the things you said, your own statements. Again, it happened because of my own actions. But you have no idea how hard the backlash has been from people disgusted by the things I said.
Been something that's a long time coming, and I actually think that this is something that not only I deserved, but it's also something that I needed. And I want to talk about what the reason for that is, but I want to start off and just make sure that that's actually very clear. So a couple of days ago, I made some comments about Palestine and also about Hamas and, some just general, basically opinions that were trivializing the genocide that's happening there. And I don't really want to like mince words or like try to like, oh, I wasn't justifying or, promoting it. I said something about it that was disgusting. I said that I didn't care about innocent people getting killed by another force, by anything. And I think that that's a horrible, disgusting, mean-spirited thing to say. And I don't necessarily think that it was really racist, really. But when I'm using language...
You said it was justified twice because they were inferior, because they come from an inferior culture. You just... I don't think that was racist. I don't think it's racist to suggest that perhaps they deserve to be genocided again, have a population of children forcibly starved and then genocided. Because, yeah. Oh, Chico, did you finally join? People have been waiting to see. Oh, and he's back out. Like, ran in and he's like, I thought he was upset. I thought he heard me making fun of Asmongold, and he's like, oh my god, yeah, fuck this guy. Yeah, he was racist as fuck.
Like Palestinians or like the people there, rather than what my real language was. I've always been very outspoken and very against religious extremism, and I still am. I think that any religion and any way of thinking that's going to...
So, you know that there are churches, not mosques, churches that have been destroyed, bombed. There are Christians that have been attacked and bombed. There have been Palestinians who are Muslims as well who have been attacked and bombed. And there's been a number of mosques that have been attacked and bombed, all by Israel. Again, to get back to this, like, well, I don't like that Palestine is a theocracy. It's like, cool story, bro. What does that have to do with the fact that they're currently being genocided? Like, again, a population of mostly civilians has been forcibly starved. This has been happening for over a year now. You've had plenty of time to actually look into this issue and learn that it's more than simply whose invisible man in the sky is more powerful. And I can't stand that, all right, when it gets down to it.
Cause you to put other people in like kind of positions below you as like, gay people, women, people with disabilities, anything like that. I think that that's a really bad position to have, and I really don't like that. And
again, though, like we can't keep doing this thing where, again, these are not communities that you ever advocate for or speak on behalf of. There's a lot of examples where, like, say, when Nick Merckx was going after trans people, Asmongold was trying to push this idea that, hey, by the way, a lot of what he's saying, it's actually very common, it's very normalized. People are saying that what he's saying is outrageous. What he was referring to was Nick Merckx saying that trans people don't exist. Like, that was his exact line. He's like, trans people aren't real. They don't exist. And then Asmongold comes up and decides, well, yeah, I need to talk about this issue. Yeah, people don't realize just like, how commonplace his beliefs are, and yet they're going after him for it when this is basically what most people think, And it's like, no, they don't. Most people are not that extreme. And it's really fucked up on one end, you don't spend any of your day or your streams supporting the queer community, trying to do anything within, like, you have an enormous amount of power, by the way. You do have the ability to try and help LGBTQ plus people, but you don't. You'd rather just give in to the same kind of like easy vilification of them that everyone else is doing, because this is what's socially acceptable right now, even though years from now you'd be able to criticize it and be like, yeah, that was really fucked up, but a lot of people were saying and doing towards trans people. Again, a very small percentage of the population. So going after a vulnerable minority like that, saying that they're not even real, dehumanizing them with that kind of language is really fucked up for Nick Merckx to have done, and for Dr. Disrespect to have supported him, plus Dr. Disrespect being a pedo makes the whole thing even more kind of like, why am I not calling out Dr. Disrespect? Maybe I should not make videos defending him. Either way, you can't then use that as this kind of like justification for, yeah, but like, are Palestinians good towards trans people? Because if you're a trans person in Palestine, it's probably got to be pretty hard, right? And like, again, because they, in my interpretation, are a religious theocracy, that means that they're probably not really good to people with disabilities, of which I've never stood up for, advocated for on the behalf of ever in my everyday life. But in this case, I feel it's really bad that they do that. And so again, none of that matters when they're being bombed off the face of the fucking earth. You even acknowledged that as a genocide at the very start of this. And now this is what people are categorizing as a genocide within a genocide, because as this group of people have been put through so much horror and atrocities, being burned alive, watching all of their family members be burned to death, bombed to death. They're also being forcibly starved and then forcibly moved from area to area where they're told, hey, go there because it's safe. Oh, no, it's not. We're going to bomb all the tents and burn people alive inside them. Hey, go to this area. There's a hospital there. You should be okay. No, we're bombing the hospital now, burning people alive with IVs still attached to their arms. That kind of shit. It's so fucked up at this point that, yeah, no, you don't get to be like, but their society's kind of backwards. But they have bad beliefs. And so that's my critique. When I was saying that they're an inferior culture that deserves to be genocided, what I meant is that, like, it's just kind of fucked up that they have these kind of belief systems, and I don't agree with them.
I think that my problem and my fault here was that I was making a criticism of religious extremism, and I made no effort. And I feel like almost I've rewatched the clip, right, or a number of the clips, and it's like I've almost made an effort not to draw a distinction between the two things. I think that a lot of us here can easily say that we're against religious extremism, and I am. But whenever I categorize everybody in the area as this like group, then I'm the asshole, and I was the asshole. I had a lot of you guys tell me that. And it's taken me, this is what's so crazy about it, is that I think this has been going on now for like 2 years. I think that I've been slowly devolving into the most mean-spirited, I don't really even know what the word is for it.
Racist. You need to unpack so much of this shit, honestly, before you start giving these takes and before you start going in front of a camera before a stadium of people every single day. Like, that's literally a stadium worth of human beings, many of them young, just sitting there, young men, impressionable young men, listening to Asmongold, being like, hey, by the way, Asmongold, what do you think about the genocide currently going on in Palestine? He's like, oh, well, it's totally justified. I mean, at the end of the day, they're an inferior culture. They've got genocide built into their mandate. What can I really say about it outside of they're an inferior culture, and they do much worse if they were given the power. And now afterwards being like, I don't see that as racist. But I think, yeah, I'll acknowledge that it is a genocide, so it's probably kind of unfair. My issue's less with, I guess, their society and more just like religious extremism, that I do feel their society emboldens and they treat people poorly. So that's why I'm saying that, like, they're inferior, but not racist. Definitely not racist. And it's weird. I feel I've just kind of become more negative over time, and I have all these things that I should probably be working on and trying to sort out. Like, yeah, okay, growth is good, by the way. And I don't want to, like, my condemnation of this or mockery of this is not to say that people shouldn't try and do the right thing. They absolutely should. This ain't it, by the way. This is just simply going out and being like, hey, I get why some of you are mad. Maybe it was a little intense what I said. My bad. I guess I was an asshole. And so because I was an asshole at this moment in time, I guess I got some things to learn, Not going to acknowledge what I said was racist, but it wasn't the best.
Just like the most mean-spirited, rude, like nasty, like just callous, psychopathic version of myself. I think that I've been devolving into this. And a lot of my friends have told me this. My dad has told me this. He said, you've got to chill out. You've got to calm down. I've been like, oh, that old man doesn't know what he's talking about. And I've finally had some level of accountability for that. And thank God. I look back at some of the things that I've said and done over the past 2 years, and I don't think that I've been wrong about everything, obviously, right? But there have been ways that I've communicated and ways that I've acted that are indefensible. And I think looking back on it, it's just disgusting. And it's something that when you get lost in the sauce and you get fixated around like listening and reading feedback and just getting hyper fixated, this is like your entire life, you lose a perspective on reality and you lose a perspective on the world. And I think that perspective was brought into perspective yesterday and the day before when I was making comments like this. And I feel so stupid. It's crazy. So I'm getting all these people making negative comments toward me. Everybody is telling me like, oh, go kill yourself, I hate you, everything like this.
You gotta stop doing that. You gotta stop making this about like, hey, by the way, it's been so hard. Oh, you don't know the deluge of anger that came towards me for dehumanizing an entire people who are undergoing a genocide. Like, you have such a massive audience. You've got such a huge megaphone. To do the shit that you're doing is very, very dangerous. And like, yeah, there's a percentage of people, luckily, in your audience that are outright disgusted by this, and that you've noticed that, and that there's going to be a lot of people who are not fans of yours who are just like, this is absolutely beyond the pale. I can't believe anyone would be this racist on this scale and be saying this kind of fucking vile, dehumanizing stuff to, again, a population of half children undergoing a genocide. Like, that is just so profoundly fucked. To be like, yeah, I've become an asshole, and I feel like, you know, I'm not really, you know, learning much, and I'm always giving bad takes and negative versions of everything, and blah, blah, blah. Like, we haven't even begun to unpack all of his culture war bullshit, where sometimes, yes, he has the centrist position on something where the grums and the geeks and gamers and the heels versus baby faces and all those fucking nerdotic losers are trying to make everything out to be an issue about, like, we hate black people, we hate women, we hate native people, we hate all these groups, but we try to mask it by saying we hate wokeness, we hate diversity, we hate DEI. Like, you'll come in there and you'll be like, okay, so I just want to say that, like, yeah, maybe it's not a bad thing if, you know, this game has a samurai in it who happens to be black, because it kind of seems like there might be some historical context for this, but other people do have a fair point that I guess according to some of the historians, he wasn't technically classified as a samurai, and so maybe it's wrong to call him precisely a samurai. Perhaps he could just be known as like a Japanese warrior on the behalf of the emperor, something to that effect. I don't know. I'm just feeling that like the truth lies somewhere in the middle, and it's like, no, this is culture war nonsense started up because racists want to continue to vilify black protagonists in video games. That's what this is. That's why they're all making this into such a huge issue. That's why a lot of them are pretending to be Japanese historians online when they're just American white dudes who are standing there being like, as a Japanese historian living in Japan and as a pure Japanese person, I have to say I'm probably pretty disgusted that they're trying to erase our history by making a samurai black. And then everyone's like, hey, by the way, this is not your account. This is your account. You just changed. You used to be an American. Okay, fine. People have caught me, but I only did that because I wanted to really bring attention to the fact that the Japanese are really upset about this. Here's a really massive account from Japan that actually talks about video game culture, and it has like over 80,000 likes saying they love the look of this game. It looks awesome. They can't wait to play as Yatsuke. This is really exciting to them, and it's got a lot of retweets as well. That's just one corner of the internet. You don't understand how angry the Japanese truly are about a black person being in a game about Japanese history. Asmongold, what do you contribute to this? What do you provide? And then it's like, well, you know what? I'm going to throw my hat into geopolitics. I'm tired of talking about all this video game culture war nonsense. Those people undergoing a genocide, they're from an inferior culture, and yeah, I'm sorry, but they get what's coming to them. That's just what you deserve at the end of the day. Wow, people got really mad at that take. A lot of people are upset. Well, you know what? My bad. I was an asshole. And I learned, I see that now. I see that. It's pretty fucking grotesque, I guess, to say that again about a population of half children undergoing a genocide, but yeah, my bad.
Do you know who reached out to me? And,
oh my God, we're only 4 minutes in and we got to the tears. We got to the tears. Why does this always happen? It's always like, okay, I'm going to center myself in the apology video. I'm going to talk about how hard it's been. All of the death threats, all of the mean comments, you know, people saying that I'm like, you know, pro-genocide and saying that I'm a racist. Did you know that that's like the worst thing you can call a white person? A racist. Yeah, the R word. People used it on me. It's true.
I wanted to talk and have a conversation and see if I was okay. It's people that were Islamic and people that had fucking family in Palestine.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Are you fucking kidding me? So the only people who reached out to me to tell me that, like, you know, I just want to know if you're okay, man, were Palestinians. You know, they were Palestinians, and then they just wanted to know if I was okay, and they didn't think what I said was so bad. And people who were Islamic people reached out to me and asked if I was okay. That's what no one gets here. You know, it's like they're all pretending to be upset on the behalf of someone else, you know, but they're not even Palestinian or Islamic. You know, if they were Islamic people, they'd realize that what I was saying was just based on, you know, my hatred universally of any religious extremism.
And how humiliating is that? How absolutely humiliating is that? And these were the people I was trying to say were bad. And I feel like such a fucking stupid asshole. I really do. I've always been a, I guess like I've always been kind of like an atheist. And even as a young kid, I was raised Roman Catholic and I was always very defiant towards it. And I've always had a negative opinion of religion, and I've also had a negative opinion of religious cultures. And I think that really I think that opinion is definitely shaped by the media that I've created, and the media I've created for myself, and then also just the media that exists, the media that I've chosen to seek out as well. And
So because you're stuck in 2007, the rest of us have to suffer. Is that it? It's like you haven't moved on beyond the whole like new atheist movement. And it's just like, yeah, as an atheist, I'm just against religious extremism of all kinds. That's where I'm coming from. I wasn't trying to be racist. I wasn't trying to dehumanize a group of people undergoing a genocide.
I think that media has allowed me to have certain predispositions and certain biases that the truth is that don't have any sort of relation to what my own real life has been experienced, or my own real life experience has been, excuse me. And so I've been spending a lot of time talking to those people, and I've seen people like fans of mine, like I had viewers messaging me on Discord, like, why are you saying this? Like, do you want to talk? Do you want to, like, I'm willing to talk to you, and like, like let's try to work this out, right? We love you. And I scrolled up on their messages, and these are people that messaged me in like 2016, 2017, 2018, like, I love your content, I love your stream, I love you, right? And now they get to hear this from me, and I just feel like such a stupid, belligerent fucking asshole. I really do, and I'm sorry. I really am. I think that it's extremely fair to criticize religious extremism, and I think that it's extremely unfair to categorize everybody in part of that group as religious extremists. I think it is, and I'm really sorry for that. I've just been a fucking dick, and it's weird because yesterday I woke up and I didn't know if I was going to get suspended or not, and I had planned on streaming and everything, and I actually got a text message from one of my mods. They said, "Oh, I heard about the suspension. I'm sorry," and I was like, I remember I was like driving, and like you'd think that like your heart rate would go up, but if anything, I felt more relaxed. I felt like finally I have a moment to just take a step back and breathe and think for myself and just stop, just like
Why are you apologizing to fans? Because that's what this is ultimately about. Like, I see people being like, we should give him grace and stuff like that. This is not for me. I just hope you all realize this is not for leftists. It's not for people who are like activists. It's not for people who are like advocating for a free Palestine. This is for his audience members who are clearly also very disappointed in having such an extreme racist take. If he's not even going to acknowledge it's racist, then you can't even begin the process of like, trying to undo some of the damage you've done. That would be the very first part, would be to recognize how, yeah, I'm contributing with my massive ass platform to the dehumanization of Palestinians as they're undergoing a genocide right now. I can recognize that as a genocide, but I don't recognize me saying that they're from an inferior culture as being racist. That's a massive first step that you would have to take. You would also, I would say, start using your platform maybe then to A, first learn about this stuff, fine, and then B, fundraise. You can fundraise for the UNRWA. He could raise $100,000, $200,000, maybe $1 million for the UNRWA. Something to that effect to show that, like, yeah, after learning about this and learning how fucked up the things are in that region of the world, it's really fucked up for me to have done or said what I did. I realized that was very, very racist and dehumanizing to Palestinians, especially as they are currently undergoing a genocide. And I want to make a mea culpa. I want to try and undo some of the harm that I put out there and created in the world. And as a result of that, I'm now going to be running this event or something to that effect. At least then you've got people who are actually being like, hey, I learned from my mistakes and I'm willing to like do everything in my power to try and make it better. Not like, oh man, you don't know how hard it was. People asking me to kill myself, calling me all kinds of names. And then I felt really stupid when Islamists were the ones who reached out to me, and they were the ones who were like, are you okay? And then I was like, oh my God, how could I have been so blind? And I don't think what I did was racist, but I am an asshole. And I agree that I'm an asshole, and my bad.
Not get out of my own head. And I spent a long time like just writing basically a list of all of these things that like I think that I should be doing with my life. And this is going to be kind of the second part, by the way, of the video. Comments that I made were pretty much about religious extremism. I think it's bad. But I've categorized a lot of people in that way that was unfair. It's wrong for me to have done that.
I didn't watch the whole debate with him and Hassan, but did Hassan ever bring up the fact, because he keeps trying to use this thing where he equates like Hamas with the justification of the genocide itself. So he would be like, yeah, but Hamas, they're really bad. It's a bad group, etc. Was he ever told that like half the population, the children who exist within Gaza and the Gaza Strip, they never voted Hamas into power. They weren't in a position to do so before they came to power. And even if they had, and even if they had voted for Hamas to become who Hamas eventually became, ultimately none of that justifies directly targeting civilians, civilian infrastructure, schools, orphanages, hospitals, sewage systems, water systems, electrical systems. That's biological warfare. These are all war crimes by definition. Doing collective punishment is a war crime. Cutting off an entire population, 2 million people, from all food is a war crime. These are war crimes after war crimes. It doesn't matter to me if like the people who are undergoing that have a government in power that are also bad. Like that doesn't take away the war crimes or the suffering or the genocide or the ethnic cleansing or the fact that prior to any of this happening, it was a system of apartheid. There were two different standards and sets for people. Like this, all of it, that's the kind of things that he should be learning. Not that like, yeah, I guess people misinterpreted what I said when I was trying to criticize religious extremists, and they thought that I was actually dehumanizing an entire group of people. But I was really going after the religious aspect of it. That's the thing that I disagree with. I'm anti-religious theocracy, and I guess I could have been better in the way I presented that. And for that, I'm sorry to my fans.
I said something that was bad. I should not have said that. I should have chosen my words more carefully. I didn't do that. I doubled down on it. I shouldn't have. I'm sorry. That's pretty much, I was a fucking asshole. I was a piece of shit. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. And so, actually, I do know what else to say. I don't like making apologies because I think words don't matter. But I do think changed action.
That's what you do for a living? Not apologizing, speaking into a microphone for hours a day.
And changed behaviors do. And so you can take my apology as hopefully better content. And if you're not seeing that, I want you to hold me accountable. Hopefully this time I won't be stupid enough to ignore it.
So Parch.
Mouth is pretty dry.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the second part about this is that I want to talk a little bit about like my life, my personal life, etc., and kind of some of the points that I think that I've kind of gone through to get here. So the main thing is that for the past, like, I would say like 10 years or so, if you look at my life like this, I would have said 10 years ago or maybe 8 years ago, streaming was like this, right? YouTube was like this. And now I would say that my life and streaming are basically the exact same size. And what I mean by that is that streaming is my entire life. Doing this is my entire existence. And I think that the process of that has been extremely unhealthy for me. And I think that what it's done is that it's allowed me to become such
Did it turn you into a racist? Is that being a workaholic really made me into a racist? That's why I'm realizing I gotta separate these two things a little bit. I gotta dial that down, you know?
a one-dimensional person that I'm not even a person anymore. It's like I'm in Dark Souls, I'm going hollow or something. And I think about like all of the, you know, like I made a list of all of the things that I'm not doing in my life that I should be doing. And I was writing it down and I'm like, you know, fucking like, I'm just going and going and going. I'm like, oh my God, I think it'd be shorter if I transcribed the Bible. Like, this is insane. Like, like, whenever I have everything written down line for line, it's like, oh my God, I'm ruining my life. I've been existing, and I want to, at a certain point, actually try to live my life. And I don't think that I've been doing that. And so what am I going to do? How am I going to do that differently? And what does that mean for my stream, etc.? I think that I'm going to cut down a little bit on streaming quite as much. And I think I'm also going to cut down... This is going to sound like... I hope I can say this in the right way. I feel like the main times that I laugh on my stream nowadays are when I'm laughing at other people. And I look back on videos that I did from 2020, 2016, and 17, and yeah, I've always been an asshole, but holy shit, I've been way more of an asshole. It's insane. And it's a night and day difference. And I've had, again, everybody in the world telling me this, including my own dad. and I've just ignored them. And finally, it's like, you know what? Maybe I'm an asshole. Maybe this is too far. Maybe I need a course correction, which is why I think that like getting suspended in this. I hope
everyone just gets the difference, by the way. Like, hey, if you're waiting for, in line at a bank and you suddenly start berating other people or being like, hey, by the way, my time's important. Can I just get to the front of the line? You're an asshole. You're being an asshole. You're just being an asshole to a lot of people. What you were doing is engaging in dehumanizing a group of people who are currently undergoing a genocide, doubling down on that take. And then when you were like pressed on it by someone else, Hassan, and having the opportunity to learn from that experience, you continue to try and revert to, well, yeah, fine. I agree with you on that point. But like, are they good to gays? Are they nice to the gays? Are they good people, allies to the gay community? As you certainly have been over the past course of the last little while. So maybe rather than learn anything, I can just continue to vilify them and talk about how, yeah, but they're still kind of like super evil because they treat gay people poorly. So maybe we should talk about that. Why don't you bring that up? Do we ever contextualize what actually, led to what you are now classifying as a genocide? I mean, October 7th was pretty bad too, right? So like, are we gonna just pretend that everyone in this is innocent or something like that? This isn't people being an asshole. And again, if it's just that, like, I know a lot of people's defense of Asmongold in general is just like, he's stupid. He the guy just, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's clearly just like, someone who has never evolved past the age of 15. He's consistently just, in perpetuity stuck in these right-wing culture war bubbles where he tries to be the perfect centrist and be like, well, it is, maybe a little bit wrong to say that like every single game that has like a woman protagonist or a black protagonist is by definition intentionally trying to push some kind of woke mind virus on us. But we certainly can point out that a lot of these people are bringing up valid points when they say that it is unusual that this is like, no, like if you're unwilling to learn, this is not just you being an asshole. This is you very dangerously using your platform to, again, do genocide, apologia, like just to try and justify some of the worst atrocities that are occurring on the planet right now, and do that on a very huge scale to a young audience who might not have other opinions formed on this yet. They might just be like, I love Asmongold. I like what Asmongold says. I want to watch Asmongold play World of Warcraft. Oh, Asmongold's talking about Palestine. What does he say about Palestine? He says that they're an inferior culture and they deserve their genocide. He said inferior a second time. I didn't know that. Maybe they are inferior. Oh, wait, Asmongold seems very sad about the backlash to that. He's now saying that he was an asshole when he said that, and that was not him being racist. He's distinctly said that he didn't think it was racist, but that he does feel that he's just being mean. So, okay, that good. I'm sure you've undone the damage throughout this all.
It's one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And I don't know whether that's going to be true, but I'm going to try to do things differently and make sure to live up to that reality. And so what are those things that I'm going to be doing differently? The first thing is that I think I'm going to try. I've been very much trying to like me.
I've never heard it pronounced that way. Is that the way? I used to say apologia, and that was wrong. Pronounce.
Apologia.
Oh, it is apologia. All right. Well, I'm 8. That's one source. Let's cross-reference it. Yeah, people used to correct me when I would say it that way. They're like, that's not how you pronounce it.
Speech modification and what it means. An apologia is a formal written defense.
That's the exact opposite. Apologia.
You are looking at Julian's pronunciation guide, where we look at how to pronounce better some of these words and its meaning for more English pronunciations. In English, make sure to stay tuned to the channel. We've got tons more. The meaning is a formal written defense. It's somewhat like an apology. So when you defend yourself, give an opinion, a position. Apologia. So it's not apology. Apologia.
Apologia. All right, maybe it's apologia. We've got 2 for apologia, 1 for apology.
Apollo, the Apollo, Galapagos, Papalagalapagos, Papalagal.
I'm gonna go with the last one.
As well. But I think that one thing
Hopefully he will develop. I would love that. I would love nothing more than that. Trust me. I'm not on the side of like, I just love to be outraged. I love to be mad at people. And that's why I love going on the internet and getting mad and big mad at people. Do you know how wonderful it would be if some completely random content creator who some people for a very long time thought was apolitical or perhaps even maybe a little right-leaning suddenly came out and was like, hey, by the way, everyone, I don't know if you knew this, but free Palestine. Yeah, absolutely. Unequivocally, hey, if you like me, you like my content, then you should be on board with this. You should support it. You should be writing to your congressmen. You should be writing to your lawmakers. You should be out there volunteering. You should be canvassing. I would fucking adore that. That would be infinitely better. And I would be like, yes, celebrating that, you know, in the same way. Like, I'm not a big Andrew Garfield fan, and like, I don't particularly dislike him, but I don't think he was the best Spider-Man. But at the same time, I'm not like opposed to seeing him in a movie. I think he's a fine actor. All right. Nothing negative or really positive to say. Kind of ambivalent about the guy. But the fact that he was coming out and used an opportunity when he was being questioned about kind of like nonsense topics to be like, oh yeah, we should really care about that. We should definitely care about that. That seems really important, especially, you know, with all the stuff that's happening in the world right now, you know, what with a whole bunch of people being actively genocided and, you know, our governments being complicit in that genocide and us doing nothing really about it to stop it and just having to watch that unfold. Like, to see him do that, I was like, holy fuck, hell yes, this is amazing. Good for you for using your platform for good, because every single person who does contributes a little bit more to the moral outrage and shock and disgust that should be directed towards this, so that politicians never get close to doing this kind of shit again, so that they think that this is just morally reprehensible, and that like anyone caught doing that is going to be equated to some of the worst monsters in human history. That's a good thing. That's a fucking net benefit. So I would love if Asmongold changes. Call him out for his shit until he does is kind of the thing, right? But the idea that like, oh well, what you know, are you closing off the door to him changing his person? No, I would love it. I don't think he's done that at all yet, but I think that would be an amazing thing if he did. Who knows? Maybe he'll come back from a month of potentially cleaning his house for the first time, and then you know, returning and being like, I've done soul searching, I've done some research, I learned, and what I learned shocked me to my core, and the truth is out there, and once you do, I can't look back and see the American empire the same way I did before, and here I am to tell all of you, my thousands of fans who are watching right now, what this all means, you know?
This thing has taught me, this whole situation has taught me, it's made me realize, is that I need to get myself in check. I need to get my mind under control. I need to, like, just get my life I need to fix my fucking life. Like, it's insane. Like, I think about it and it's in shambles. Everything.
And again, like, it's hard to have empathy for any of this when really this whole thing should just be like, hey, I want to directly apologize to the Palestinian people, whom I dehumanize. It is completely abhorrent, racist, and fucked up for me to have said that about you, your people, your culture, especially at a time now when you're undergoing a genocide and everything should be done to stop that. That's a very different thing than, wow, my life's so hard, people told me to kill myself, and everyone's being mean to me online. I really need to take a step back. I need to get everything back into focus. I'm not enjoying it. All my monstrously huge companies that I've either co-founded or I'm sponsored by, or the millions of dollars that I receive on a regular basis, all of it is just really hard to micromanage and blah blah blah. Like, again, you consistently promote this like version of living in absolute squalor, and talk about how unhealthy it is, and it is, right, to live in complete filth where your walls are molding, you live amongst cockroaches and rats, and there's blood on the walls, and like your teeth are falling out. That kind of shit is not great to pass on to another generation of people watching you, being like, this guy's a legend. I mean, he's got it all. He just literally plays video games all day, says whatever he wants, eats whatever he wants, and just doesn't have to clean or cook or anything. He fucking doesn't even have to fucking take care of his own hygiene. This dude is a living legend. This is what we should all aspire to be. Yeah, well, that's really shitty too. So I hope he comes back and decides, hey, by the way, I know that there are very, very young members of my audience. Thousands of you are probably watching right now. Some of you are looking to me for guidance. It's actually a good thing for you to clean up your rooms and not live in complete and utter filth. You will be healthier. You'll live longer. It's a mentally cleansing effect. It is good for you to live in a clean home. So I am now cleaning my house. I know I have millions and millions of dollars to be able to afford a team of people who do that for me, and why I wasn't doing it before will be a mystery for the ages. But I'm actually going to do it myself, because we should not be above that. Even though I am a multimillionaire and I make so much money, I can actually clean my own home. I have brushes, I have spray, I know how to do it, I can wipe, and I'm doing that now, just like all of you at home can do. You don't need the millions and the millions and millions of dollars to have a clean house. Anyone can do it. You can go to the dollar store and get some cleaning supplies for under $5. You'll take a lot of what you need. Get out there and clean your homes.
About my life is basically fucked. And I'm going to take a step back from all of that. I'm going to step away from my leadership position and OTK and Starforge and everything. I want to, and they're fine with that. They respect that, and I want to do this. And I want to do this not only for them, but mainly for myself, so I can be a better version of myself for everyone. And I want to apologize to all you guys, my viewers, that I don't think I've lived up to that. I think that I can be a lot better than what I am right now. And I don't even think that I've been putting in half the effort that I should be in the way that I should be. And I'm sorry. And so my plan is to, when I get unbanned, I'll keep streaming regularly, right? And I want to focus more on trying to do things that are fun, trying to laugh more with people rather than at people. I'll still laugh at people every once in a while, okay? Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. But it's about a focus, and it's
Hopefully
about
not Palestinian children
it's about a tone. I listen to my tone in the clip, and I just sound like such a piece of shit. Really, at the end of the day, I sound like a piece of shit. I sound like a terrible person, and it's just so mean-spirited and callous and just
racist,
mean. And I don't want to be that person anymore. And I've spent a long time growing up. The time I did, I was an r/atheism enjoyer. I have a very negative opinion of a lot of religions.
This is not an excuse. I have comprehensively read the majority of the works of Christopher Hitchens. He was one of my favorite authors for a very long period of time. Yes, that same neocon turned Christopher Hitchens, post 9/11 Christopher Hitchens. I've read some of Sam Harris's books, so the shorter ones. Letter to a Christian Nation was really easy. And I've read a lot of Richard Dawkins as well, and I loved a lot of Richard Dawkins stuff. I was very immersed in the four horsemen of the whole atheist movement that were all becoming very, very popular at that time. And yes, I was buying into a lot of the rhetoric that at that time I didn't know was so deeply rooted in Islamophobia, and for that's really fucking on me, right? These are all the kind of things we have to unpack. But this is not an excuse I get to use today if I'm still spewing that kind of shit. If I'm doing that Richard Dawkins thing, there was like, oh yes, so lovely to hear the church bells in the morning, so much better than Allahu Akbar, don't you say? It's like, well, no, it just sounds like you hate Muslims, dog. All of this shit just sounds like you got your own racism to unpack, but you're doing it under a veil of I'm actually very critical of religion. Did you know the Quran actually has a lot of calls to violence in it? Why won't anyone ever talk about that? Oh, it's fine to talk about how the Old Testament has violence in it, but it's not okay to talk about how the Quran has violence in it. Strange that. And it's like having an analysis of religious texts and then realizing in 2024 that they're not based in reality is not like some fucking revelation that you uniquely possess and that makes you smarter than every other human on the planet. It's ridiculous. It's the lowest hanging fruit. It's what Ricky Gervais is still fucking coasting on. Being like, oh, did you know that I realized that a lot of what's in the Bible isn't true? And it's like, amazing. And that's phenomenal. What, every human didn't evolve from just two people? What a genius you are. What, that snakes can't talk? You figured that out all on your ownsies? That snakes can't communicate with humans using the English language and tempt them into eating an apple to create original sin? Wow, look at you, bright, beautiful, brilliant boy. Still racist though. It doesn't erase all that. You figured out some things about the known universe that everyone else kind of yeah, the Bible didn't have the germ theory of disease in it. Clearly it was written for the time, right? We could look at it as a piece of text that was written historically in a period of human history, but we shouldn't use it as a guidebook for, passing laws and all that. And using that now as a defense in this day and age, being like, That's really fucked up. How you were dehumanizing people undergoing a genocide, especially when half the population of children had nothing to do with voting Hamas into power. Like, as someone pointed out, there was that mathematician on Bad Hasbara podcast recently who was talking about only 6% of the existing Palestinians who live in Gaza were capable of voting for Hamas into power, and did so. So for 6% of the population to collectively all get punished, starved, bombed, burned alive, ridden with disease, terrorized, that is unbelievably fucked up. To then sit back and be like, well, it's because they're inferior. They're inferior. Like, then I like, what is superior? Is superior the nation that is supplying all the bombs that are massacring children on a scale that no other country is doing right now? Is it the country that is massacring children on a scale that no one else is doing, as they are actively starving those same children? They're starving them and bombing them simultaneously. That feels to me like a really, really, really bad government policy, a really, really bad choice to be making on a large scale. That to me feels grotesque, worth condemnation, worth calling out, not something you want to align yourself with, something that collective humanity should pool together and be like, we should stop this. The people should be allowed to do this.
Had the experience firsthand of the negative effects of Christianity and, the way that I view that. And I've always read a lot of very bad things about Islam. And I've made a lot of criticisms of it. I've talked to a lot of people about it. I've heard a lot about it, and I've been like watching things about it, and I've been like hearing people telling me this is the way it is, but I've never seen it. And I actually think that after all of this, I think towards the end of next year, I think I'd like to visit the Middle East and see it for myself. I want to see it for a historical perspective, right? I would love to go to Istanbul in Turkey. There's no ulterior motive there at all. But it's not just that. I'd love to visit places like Saudi Arabia, Dubai, any of the other places. I mean, the truth is that, and this is the worst thing about what I said, some of the places that I would want to visit, I might not be able to because of the way that they're like just the internal strife, the actual literal wars that are going on, people being literally killed there, and I might not be able to do that. But I want to do it, and I want to see it for myself.
Oh my God.
Because I don't like believing what people tell me. And I think that when I do, I end up being a fool. And I want to see it. I want to see it for myself, and I want to experience it, and I want to live my life. And I'm going to try to clean up part of my house. I'm going to try to...
It sounds like it's going to go on Birthright. It sounds like he's going to get invited by Israel, which of course is going to fly out this massively famous streamer to go see how amazing things are there, and he's going to come back and he's just going to be like, I had heard a lot of things about Israel being cruel and mean towards Muslims and ethnic minorities within the country, that there was like separate sets of laws and areas that you couldn't get into or cross or enter, roads that you weren't even allowed to drive on if you happened to not be part of the proper religion. And I got to be honest, when I went there, everyone was so nice to me. I stayed in beautiful hotels. They have an amazing nightlife. It's not what they show you on TV. There's not like, all these like bombs and war and chaos. It's just like they have beaches and like 5-star restaurants and everything's so beautiful there. And honestly, I got to say that it is honestly a beacon for hope. And I'm really, really happy that I had this opportunity to grow.
Do this, and I'm not going to hire a cleaner. As I said, I was raised Roman Catholic. I view this as a penance. And I think I need to do this for myself. I need to take accountability for bad things that I've done and for letting my life get this out of control. And I don't need a get out of jail free card. So I need to do that for myself and for my own closure as well. And I think also I want to live for the idiots out there that, they're, like looking to me to be a role model, right? Oh, not a good idea. But there are people that will see that and...
But you don't get to turn it off. You don't get to just ignore that reality. Like, this is the Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's got a whole comedy special where he's like, yeah, people are always like, oh, you're a bad influence. You're spreading misinformation. You're spreading dangerous lies about vaccines during the pandemic and stuff like that. I'm like, yo, I just smoke weed and drink all day. Why the hell are you listening to me? Like, why are you taking me as a barometer? You should be able to find out the truth for yourself. You have 13 million people who listen to your podcast. Asmongold, you have 40,000 people who watch you live. That's a stadium. That's a fucking stadium of human beings. You don't get to ignore the fact that you have a massive reach. You have to be like, I mean, like, to all the people who think that I'm being a bad role model, why would you pick me as a role model? What's wrong with you? Well, people did. I mean, yeah, congratulations on all your success. You are one of the biggest streamers on the internet. You have one of the biggest platforms on the internet. You didn't want to stay in your lane and just talk about World of Warcraft and video games all day. You wanted to jump into geopolitics and talk about culture war issues, talk about racism, talk about civil rights and all these kind of stuff. Well, then, yeah, you do have a responsibility. There is a responsibility on you to either learn about this, get more informed on it, or not simply listen to the worst corners of the internet and fucking the subreddits when you're trying to get your opinions on topics that you clearly don't know anything about.
They'll think maybe to themselves, maybe I should do the same thing. And if I can do that for one person, well, I've already done it for myself. I've already done a good thing, and so it could only get better. And so that's what my plan is. I'm going to try to like rethink my life. I have had a lot of people reach out to me, people I would have never expected reach out to me in ways that I never expected. And I understand that, you know, like I'm still very critical about, you know, religious fundamentalism, right? But when you paint with such
He does have decent takes on video games sometimes. Like, any single time he calls out the massive corruption of, like, video games, how they're trying to push all this capitalist consumerism on people, especially with, like, loot boxes and, like, you know, you don't even get to buy Mortal Kombat all the character roster. You buy Mortal Kombat, the $100 game, and then you get to buy and unlock all of the, like, additional characters you might want. And then if you want, on top of that, you can buy additional fatalities and costumes. So by the end of the day, you're spending $200, $300, $500 on a game. Those kind of callouts are good. I mean, those are valid callouts that I don't call out when any of the, like, you know, the geeks and gamers or the other fucking quarterings of the world, they rarely touch on it, but when they do, I'm like, yeah, I have no criticism of this criticism, right? It's when the geeks and gamers or the Asmongolds or any of these people start being like, well, we should be looking into Bridge, we should be looking into DEI, and we should be looking into the fact that we are getting a lot of forced diversity pushed down our throats. It is kind of sus that they made Spider-Man 2 a little bit gay simply to appeal to what they consider to be this woke demographic. It's like the game isn't fucking gay. There's literally like a trans pride flag in one corner of the city. If you go around this one section, you can find it. You'd have to go out of your way in some ways to go find that flag. It's not like you then have to fight bigots who are trying to go after queer kids or something as like part of the storyline or something like that. But that was enough for people to lose their shit and then be like, oh, well, yeah, we invented a mod. We got this, you know, Spider-Man anti-woke mod, and now you can get rid of all the trans flags in the game. It's so cool. And then you're like, fucking what the hell? Or other people going off about how, like, oh, they made Mary Jane ugly. Yeah, they made her ugly. I can't save her. I don't want to play a game where I don't want to, like, fuck the video game character. How am I supposed to even get into the story and enjoy this if I can't put myself in the place of Spider-Man and Peter Parker and actually want to save Mary Jane? And it's like, wait, they made her ugly. What? No, they didn't. What are you talking about? And even if they did, that prevents you from getting into a fantasy game about a mutant who has gained superpowers from a radioactive spider biting him, who shoots webs out of his arms and travels the city to save the day from an evil scientist who has fucking octopus robot arms. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? These are fantasies. It's the same people who are like, I don't want to play as a woman. I'd be gay. I'm not a woman. It's like, oh, but this isn't, you're also not a knight from the round table, sir. You're also not in medieval Europe either. So in either way, it's a bit of a fantasy, is it not? It's not real life. You're not actually on a quest to save Camelot and get the Holy Grail. You're just playing a video game and doing video game things.
such a broad brush that you just included an entire group of people. You're just being you're being a piece of shit. It's like people said it was racist. I didn't mean it as racist, but if you listen to what I said, it's easy that you could assume that.
No, it was racist. You haven't even learned that.
I'm just a fucking idiot. I'm a fucking moron. I've been an asshole. I think that I've devolved for the last 2 years. I think that I've negatively affected
Okay, so the people being like, hey, by the way, you gotta allow people to grow and change. I agree with you. I think we should. And it would be beautiful if Asmongold does. If you're not even ready to recognize, dehumanizing an entire group of people undergoing a genocide, saying that they come from an inferior culture and that they get what's coming to them because they are inferior, that's not racist, that it's not a racist statement, that it's not dehumanizing an entire group of people who, again, are undergoing a genocide, that, yeah, there's been zero growth. I'm very sorry to my fans and my audience who I clearly have upset on some level, or to the people who are, I guess, mad about this for some reason. But I'm an asshole. I was being an asshole. I'm always an asshole. I didn't do it because I hate Palestinians. I didn't do it because I'm racist or, I hate Muslims or anything like that. It's because I'm an atheist, and I just criticize, theocracies. And so that's what this was really about, ultimately.
Affected other people too, in ways that I hate. I don't even hate to say this. Like, I think I need to say this. I need to say it more. I've negatively affected people in ways that I regret. I think whenever I go back live again, I'll probably talk about that more. And
yeah, Chico's here. The people asking. Chico's just right there. Hey, Chico, how you doing? Everyone doesn't want to listen to Asmongold anymore. They just want to check you. Oh yeah, of course. The 1 second I cross over to him, he starts licking his own balls. Fucking ridiculous.
There's some just different people I kind of want to apologize to, and take accountability for things that I've said and done that have negatively affected other people in ways that were unfair and wrong. And that's what my plan is. That's about it. I want to say that I hope that now, after you've heard what I have to say, that a lot of you all can see kind of why I'm saying that I appreciate this. I really think that this is something I needed. And I hope that this is the next part of the rest of my life. And I want you guys to hold me accountable to that. So if I'm being a fucking asshole again, if I'm being mean, if I'm just being callous, acting like a psychopath, just treating people awfully outside of a WoW raid when they get killed by fire, but really laughing at people's misfortune, try to say, man, just chill the fuck out, stop it. Just stop. And I'm gonna do my best to listen. I spent 2 years ignoring it, and look where it got me. This is not even the tip of the iceberg of the problems in my life. And I want to thank everybody for making me aware that that's the case.
Asmongold has posted on his forum about this. Why apologize? Because it was our slur to use Palestinians interchangeably with religious fanatics and terrorists. Obviously, not all people in Palestine are trash. Some are implied there. It's not really that complicated. Also, it wasn't just that issue. Don't let yourself become ideologically captured by our worldview to the point where it makes you so unreasonable that you turn into what you're fighting against. No one, quote, wins when I stand behind a statement that's false or a mischaracterization. My fucking dad told me over a year ago I was getting too harsh on my stream and ignoring him. Same with a lot of real life friends. I think I've just been increasingly more hostile and negative, and that brings a bad vibe to the stream. A good comparison. Dragon Ball. Jesus Christ. Dragon Ball Sparkling Zero playthrough versus Wulong playthrough. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that I want more Sparkling Zero playthroughs, and I never want to play Wulong again. The vibes and feel of the stream recently has been a lot more tense, and a lot of that is my fault. If you think that means my first stream back is going to be playing Dustborn and promoting Sweet Baby, I think you'll be disappointed. I'm not changing anything other than be more positive and less mean-spirited. So just so you know, I'm not going to stop talking about culture war issues that are thinly veiled, basically racist attacks on people's civil rights. I'm going to continue on that vein. So don't worry, I haven't gone woke. I've got a 2-week suspension, so clearly I got to change a couple things around here. I'm worried about the bag. Also, sponsors had nothing to do with it. This wasn't even the top 5 worst things I've said. I wanted to step away from leadership and take a break from all of that. Well, now, over 1 year, because the amount of commitments compounded on top of maintaining my streaming schedule. By the way, I actually don't think this part's untrue. I think at this point, Palestinians, their human rights and their right to exist and not be basically bombed off the face of the earth, they have been so dehumanized, especially within Western culture, that I don't think sponsors would flinch at someone being yeah, I don't know, they're an inferior culture. I'm sorry, they deserve what's coming to them. They're inferior. Yeah, if you were to say that distinctly about a, protected minority class within, say, the US, people might be like, holy shit, that's really fucked up for you to say that. I can't believe you just said that out loud. But when you're saying it about Palestinians, yeah, maybe the sponsors didn't think about this at all. Hopefully y'all can now see how this really is a macro issue, not just a situation. My life has been fucked for a while now. I need to fix it. I'm a 34-year-old? What? Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm a 34-year-old single man living in his mother's house. Mentally something that, again, if thousands and thousands of people watching you, your young audience are going to be emulating this, and you're not willing to actually really grow or change as a person. You're saying right now, I've been an asshole, I've been bad, I want to change. And then people are like, wait, does this mean you're going all wokey? No, just so you know. Definitely, not doing that. No, yeah, no, fuck them minorities. I want to be clear about that, okay? We're still going to talk about DEI, Sweet Baby Inc., all that shit. But I'm going to try and be less of an asshole when talking about maybe children being burnt alive. That's happening right now, right? Like children literally, as I'm saying this sentence out loud, are being burned alive where they're trying to be safe, in tents, in hospitals, in schools, in orphanages. That's happening right now. So maybe saying that the kids being burnt alive right now who are also being forcibly starved are from an inferior culture and that's why they deserve what's coming to them. Okay, that was a little asshole-y. So I'm gonna be a little better about that kind of stuff. I won't be so intense, you know? Take a break. Us chuds will be here waiting for you to make streaming great again. Says, don't worry, I'll react to DEI equaling die gaming video. First day back to stream. Cool stuff.
Okay, it's been a while since you saw my face. I haven't been doing so great, so I took a little break. So a lot of people are saying some things about me that are quite true. Doesn't matter if it's true though, just as long as it's entertaining to you. Right? That's Evan Fry. All aboard the toxic gossip train. Jag him down the tracks of misinformation, the toxic gossip tray. You got one-way ticket to manipulation station, toxic gossip tray. Time it to the tracks and harass me for my past. These rumors look like facts. If you don't mind the gaps, I won't survive in the crash, but hey, at least you're hat on.
Hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/The Serfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Poppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Travis McClinton, Trincell, Words Greenwood, with additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here.